Well, hello, Apple Biters and Apple Teenies. I'm back. Yes, back from vacation here with the Bitten Apple TV presents Apple Bites. We have a really great show for you today, Ralph and I. We can't wait to tell you about our new guests that we have. Some you know, some you don't know. And we'd like to introduce them to you right after this. Well, hello.
Well, hello there, Apple Bites. How are you? And look at this. We have Leslie over here on the side who's been on hiatus, on vacation. She's been gone for a while. Hi, Leslie.
I've been doing great. I had a wonderful vacation. I'm telling you, I came back with a renewed mind, but I want to thank you because you were holding it down. You were holding it down. I'm telling you, you really did a great job. And everybody else and your co-host, Shadow Rabbit, everybody else, everybody that part of our Bitten Apple crew that we don't even get to see half the time, we got to see them. By the way, where are they today? Because, you know, it would be nice to have like a triple host thing, a quadruple host thing, you know, something like that going on.
It's funny because I could swear that Lou is supposed to be here with us.
Oh, Lou, where are you, Lou? Where are you?
I don't know if he's asleep or what. If my message didn't get through, let's see what happens.
All right. Well, if he shows up, he shows up. You know, they will just bring him in. But anyway, yes, I just got back from vacation. I'm like really, really happy that I took it. I know in the midst of COVID, it's like really crazy for anybody to consider going on vacation. And believe you me, I had a straight up attitude about going because I didn't want to travel, you know, during COVID. Right. But to my surprise, it was very well worth it. I'm telling you, amazing.
Was it really weird being over there while the whole COVID thing is happening? You know, because I know that a lot of places are completely shut down or some places just completely open.
Well, you know, interestingly enough, it's not really that bad. I think some of the policies are very stringent as far as you traveling. Now, I actually got my first vaccination like maybe a couple of days before we left to go. Right. But strangely enough, they pretty much go on an honor system when you're leaving the U.S. To ask you if you have any of the symptoms and stuff like that before you board a flight. Now, when we got to Mexico, we were required to have a COVID test right before we got on the plane, like 2 or 3 days, 72 hours before we got on the plane.
Interesting.
And we had to carry something with us stating what our status was as far as COVID was concerned. And if we, you know, if they matched it with your passport. And that whole system of like checking your passport against your COVID test, that went all the way through our process when we were going through customs.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting how they're doing it.
Because I know, like, all of a sudden we have a huge boom and people flying all over the place, you know, and it kind of surprised the heck out of me because, you know, we came from this pandemic. All of a sudden, they're saying that the traffic now is above 2019 traffic.
So let me just say this about that. I was kind of upset by the fact that our flights were extremely packed. I was actually sitting next to somebody that I did not know.
Right.
And that's going down. So if that person had lied about their COVID status because they're going on an honor system leaving the US, you know, who knows? But I guess that's why they check you when you're wherever you are in your location. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who told me that she wanted to go to Greece, but in Greece, if you go there, they quarantine you for 2 weeks. You don't even get to step out of the room.
Damn.
You get quarantined. Exactly. So there goes your vacation. You know, I mean, that really, really sucks. But ironically, when I was doing all the research today about the whole COVID testing and going through customs and stuff like that, I just saw that a couple or a family that came back that were from Minnesota that just came back from Cancun tested positive.
Wow.
So I'm not really sure where. I'm not really sure where they stayed, what their status was when they left, if they even did a status check, but I'm sure that it's required by the government of Mexico, because that's like I said, from the minute we took that status, from the minute we hit the airport to get back on the plane, they were checking our status. So I don't know how they tested positive and came back to the US. I'm not really sure.
Sounds like somebody bent some rules.
I'm thinking that's quite it. But I'm telling you, my flight was packed. It was packed. And if there was I can't say anything wrong about that vacation except the packed flight and how small the seats are nowadays getting on a plane.
That was the controversy, because before they would leave the middle seat open, and then they just took that out of the way and they filled the flight.
No, these people are trying to get their money, And it's funny, I don't like to travel. I don't like to travel. After being 16 years of being a flight attendant, I absolutely cannot stand getting on a train, on a plane. If I could drive to Mexico, I would have. That's how I feel. Like, take a train, take a slow boat. I just don't like flying.
I don't blame you. Once it's like me. I did all those years as a cooking in the hospital, and I'm like, I don't want to cook anything.
Yeah, you just don't. You just don't. And the thing is that flying has changed. It's changed so much. Everything is so downgraded. Even your seat capacity, or you've got to pay extra to have extra leg room. Who does that? I don't
extra
know.
Leg room, extra luggage, extra.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, we really had a really wonderful time. We stayed at the the Royal Park Grand Hotel in Cancun. We stay there often. We have a family member that lives down there that actually has a vacation package there. And this is actually my photo that I took. I don't know why it looks so dark, but it was really bright and sunny that day when I took this, but it does look kind of a little dark. But it
looks like a postcard, so I think you did a good job.
Thank you. I think I did a pretty good job too. This was actually the view from our room.
Wow.
When we went there for our honeymoon, when my husband and I went there for our honeymoon, we were actually closer to the water. And a shout out to him, by the way, my husband, Sean Cox. He just celebrated his birthday a couple of days ago.
Rockin'.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was all over your feed. I was on his feed. I was on the Black Dawn feed. I was like, hey, what's up? How you doing?
I always tell everybody that I used to really hate tax day, which is April 15th. And now that I married somebody whose birthday is on tax day, I have at least something to look forward to. So
a good reason to enjoy April 15th.
Yeah, exactly. Even better to this year, since they moved it to next month. I really like that. So anyway, this was my hotel room, from our hotel room. Really great hotel. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend their vacation package. Free, all inclusive, free food, free drinks, infinity pool, just really nice. So we really didn't have any need to actually leave the grounds per se. I did go shopping at the market. I went to go get some cat figurines because that's my thing. And so, I did leave, but I mean, everybody's wearing their mask. Everybody's being compliant. This fellow right here, I actually had to show everybody a picture of him because somebody told me that they were an invasive species in right now, especially in Florida, and people are actually hunting them and eating them. Wow. But not so in Mexico, folks. This bad boy right here, which is a black, I think he's a black, what do you call it? Those black spiny iguana. Right. They are endangered. So I seen a couple of these big guys walking around, and this one, I woke up, I was laying out in the sun, and I woke up and he was like standing right next to me. But he was so like, meh, you know, another tourist. He didn't even do anything. And he was living in this little hole right here, next to the rock. He was living there. Yeah, so he was living there. But he was beautiful. A lot of beautiful flora, fauna, you know, little creatures walking around, you know, birds. It just was just gorgeous. I just had a wonderful time. I really loved it.
And admit that's what I like when I went to Cancun. That's what I loved was all the beautiful fauna, the archaeological digs. You know, it's just an immense enjoyment. You know, I know it's Cancun and it's a tourist spot, but there's just so much to do there.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, the beaches are just pristine and beautiful.
Yeah.
People who have never gone outside of New York City and go to Jones Beach and stuff, y'all don't know what a beach is. Because those beaches, I wouldn't put my finger in any of those beaches. But I tell you, these beaches, beautiful. The water was warmer than the pool.
Yeah.
The water was warmer. Just absolutely breathtaking. And just, you know, and this is something I was talking to our driver about, is that Cancun and different parts of Mexico still have archaeological digs there from the Aztec and the Mayan.
Mm-hmm.
The Mayan, there are actually pieces of structures still along the roads while you're driving, but don't you touch it. Don't you touch it. So apparently, I heard the story. You know, I love stories like this. That they were getting ready to build something. I don't know, an office building, another hotel, because there's plenty down there. And so the construction people and the people that were constructing this, they decided to move the artifact. They decided to move it. And wouldn't you know, the minute they moved the artifacts to put them elsewhere, all hell broke loose. Stuff started happening on the construction site. You know, people were dying and everything. And they were like, hey, y'all move that, put it right back. So that's what they did. They actually put it back where they found it, and then they built around it. Yeah. So I don't touch
those sites, man.
Yeah. And that's what I told somebody. I said, Aztecian, Mayan, or alien, don't touch it.
Exactly.
Whatever that is, don't touch it. So, you know. But anyway, let's move on. I know you wanted to talk about this today. I know you wanted to talk about it.
I'll say no.
Please don't. I'm so sorry I have not watched this, and I am dying to watch it. And everybody's like, have you seen it yet? Have you seen it yet? No, folks, I have not seen it yet. I'm sorry. The minute I got back from vacation, I have been like bombarded with work. I do plan on watching it after today's show so that I can watch it so that we could talk about it. But so far, what I can say about this show, and I did watch the episode before this one with the Dora Milaje.
That was great, man. That was a great moment, a great scene. Oh,
what?
We have jurisdiction where we are.
Yes. I actually people were making memes, you know, in the Black community, were making memes about the whole scene between Ayo and Captain America. Yeah. And so I made my own. I don't have to show them here. I have to put them on the Bitten Apple. But I was hysterical about that moment. When he touched her shoulder, I just went, oh, dude. Do it. I was like, dude.
You don't do that.
You know? Yes. I laughed so hard. And when disclaimer, you all, if you have not seen any of this, but I'm just going to tell you, turn this down right now. But when Bucky tried to stop her and she dismantled his arm, all I thought about was that saying that Black moms say to you all the time, I brought you into this world and I'll take you out. I brought you that arm, now I'll take it off. That's what I thought.
My favorite moment was when he's talking to Falcon, and Falcon goes, Did you know she could do that? He's like, no.
He's like, I guess that's what I was like. Nobody gave it from the perspective of Falcon. So actually I gave my whole little meme thing from the perspective of Falcon watching this woman beat up, you know. I'll share it on the Bitten Apples page, and so you all can see it. But I was hysterical laughing about it. But this show is, I'm telling you, one more show we have. I am telling you, Marvel is bringing it. They are bringing it. Disney is bringing it.
That's one thing I can talk to you about, Les. Is it's the fact that for some reason, I don't know if you've heard this, but when the first 2 episodes came out, a lot of people started knocking the show. They started saying, "Oh, what is this? This is slow. I don't like this." And they pretty much gave up after the 2nd episode. And I'm like, "No, dude, you have to watch the 3rd and 4th episode because that's when it ramps up. This is when you actually see what the heck is going on." And it was funny because to me, I was like, "Okay, you didn't like WandaVision because the first couple of episodes didn't get into the whole thing. Now you're telling me that you don't like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier because it got into the whole thing and is trying to explain what's going on." And I'm like, what the heck? Are you guys ever happy?
No, you can't. Unfortunately, you can't please everybody, but I'm very well pleased with this. And I think that the majority of us who are happy with this show, outweighs those who are not. So.
But I also feel like, again, we've gotten spoiled where, we don't like watching one episode at a time. And I feel like that's what the issue is. They see one episode, they go, okay, whatever. And then they see 2 episodes and they go, okay, this show sucks. And I'm like, you haven't seen all the episodes. How can you say the show sucks?
Well, then that also explains their attention span. I don't want to say anything about people like that. But hey, having cliffhangers in when you have superhero shows is something that we've had here forever. So get over it. Maybe you need to maybe research the fact that the cliffhanger is the first time anybody has ever been introduced to superhero series similar to this.
Cliffhangers, yeah.
Yeah, these are cliffhangers. And get over it. Just wait for it the following week.
Another controversy that I got into with a couple of people talking to me is they're like, oh, they're doing this new storyline for a new age. And I'm like, dude, this thing is straight from the comics. Everything that they're covering comes straight from the comics. It comes from when Captain America resigned. It comes from when the new Captain America took over. It comes in, and I'm sitting and I explained the whole thing, and somebody was like, "Oh, I didn't know it was from the comics." I'm like, "That's because you're jumping the gun because they're making it political."
Well, that's because nobody reads and does their own research. That's a poor thing too. I mean, go back and research these comics from volume 1 on and when they were introduced so that you know the lore. Don't make a comment unless you know the lore.
And they got all funny because I pulled the comic book issues out to explain, oh, here's the storyline. This is this storyline. This is it. Because it's a couple of different storylines from the Captain America stories. They're like, oh, I don't understand this whole Flag Smasher thing. I'm like, he's a character from the comic. All they did was make Flag Smasher female instead of male.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish is that they put her in the costume because I want to see that Flag Smasher costume.
Yeah, of course. And now you're talking from the perspective of a dude.
Of course.
That's different. Anyway, let's go on real quick so we can get over the series because I want to bring our next guest in. But, we are doing a series on Black superheroes, and we wanted to introduce you to a few heroes that nobody really knows about that are not mainstream. But the first hero that I want to introduce is Muhammad X. Who knew? Who knew there was a Muhammad X? There's plenty of Muhammad X's in Harlem, I know. But I tell you that Superman fights the power of the underrated Black superhero Muhammad X. Yes, there is somebody in the nation who is a superhero. Okay? I don't even know if Minister Farrakhan knows about this dude. But anyway, he has his an alter ego is his specialty is he has density and gravity of himself and others without causing any apparent harm. He can apparently make himself intangible or immovable and make others very super heavy. Very interesting.
Some good powers.
Right. And from the lore of him, how he was introduced, he's like the self-proclaimed protector of Harlem. And he uses his ability to protect the community. And there is a storyline when Superman meets Muhammad X. He browbeats him, accusing him of ignoring Harlem, in essence, the Black community overall. And it causes the Man of Steel to question his understanding of race and race relations.
That sounds like a good issue already.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, but I was like, oh my God. This has been going on all this time? Yes, yes, he actually does this. So I'm totally like, I was very intrigued by this character.
It's funny because it goes back to that what we were discussing in that panel that we had about superheroes of color and how many there are out there and how many people don't realize are there and don't even support.
Well, apparently, if he's calling Superman out about the fact that he has forgotten Harlem, he's been doing all this. Muhammad X has been like policing Harlem all a while, and then when Clark Kent shows up in Harlem, he's like, "What you doing up in here? We've been having problems all this while." I would really like to see the modern take of this, doing the whole the situation with police brutality and superheroes and police brutality.
That'd be interesting.
The people of color. Yeah, it's a challenge. DC and Marvel, I'm just saying. It's a challenge. I'm challenging you for that. I'd really love to see their take on this. So then our other hero is a female. Her name is Cat's Paw.
Ooh.
So Cat's Paw is also DC Comics.
Yeah, I see the Legion of Superheroes.
Right. This is April Dumaka. She was captured by the Dominators, and I don't know the lore of the Dominators, and she was subjected to genetic manipulation, which granted her feral cat-like body and powers. Yes, and she's part of the squadron of the Legion of Superheroes. Okay, and then she remained with the team until 0 Hour erased her timeline from continuity.
Oh. That's interesting.
Yes. I don't know why that is, but yes. So she did actually exist. This is like old school DC.
Yeah, this is old DC. This is a long time. This is me collecting comics DC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, shout out to Tommy Tejada for this picture right here for his blog spot. This is a beautiful picture. I saw this. It was like, oh my God, I got to have this on here. So yes. So that is Cat's Paw. Who knew? So check out these people, you all. These are little known superheroes of color that you do not know. Muhammad X and Cat's Paw.
Cat's Paw.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to our first guest. Thank you so much for waiting patiently in the background, in the wings, in the green room. We have a lot of things in the green room back there to keep people busy. Actually, the green room is their own house, so they can have, they have free access to everything.
That's like the best green room ever, man. It's my own house.
Yes. Yeah, it's like my own house. I can have access to everything. Really? Yes. So let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a professional writer for 11 years across all genres. He is also a part of Big Dog Inc. Comics and has appeared on the Diamond Top 300 list, won and been nominated for multiple awards, and also created with the idea of fun, first in story and character designs. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first guest, Mr. Tom Hutchinson. What's up?
How are you guys?
Good. Thank you so much for holding on, waiting out there in the background.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, it's good to see you. So I actually have not, I'm sure that Ruff is a little bit more familiar. My introduction to you today was actually looking at your inking, everything that you've done. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have this thing about comics. Comics have to look like a certain way for me to really love them.
Sure.
And the first thing that I look at is how you draw women. Because that's like I remember how beautifully drawn was. Well, your women, the way that everything is drawn is amazing.
It is
amazing.
Well, we've been really lucky over the years to work with some of the best in the industry. I mean, we've worked with Ryan Otley, who everybody knows now from Invincible. We've worked with Joe Jusko. We've worked with J. Scott Campbell. I mean, we've run the table with names that everybody's heard. And at the same time, we found people and artists that no one's heard of, and they've produced amazing work. And they've, in a lot of cases, have kind of built themselves up, kind of like the minor leagues. They've worked for us, and then DC comes knocking, Marvel comes knocking, and they've moved on to work for some of those guys. So we've gotten very lucky in some capacity with the folks we've been able to work with. But I've also been an art fan my whole life. So for me, when we started to go look for artists for our books, it was like, I know what I'm looking for, and I know what I want this stuff to be. You know, I kind of followed that path. And then from there, you know, you got to keep your eyeballs open for like, okay, well, what about this style? What about that style? How does this work with this particular genre and book? How does this work with this particular genre and book? And that's the job of the art director, of course, for every publisher that's doing stuff, is making sure that what's going on a book not only looks good, but fits what's happening. So, you know, that's part of my job as publisher, art director, hats. But yeah, you know, we've gotten lucky in some cases with being able to work with pros, and in other cases, I'll pat myself on the back for finding folks that no one has heard of and giving them the chance.
I mean, I have to tell you, that's like the one thing I say, because I'm talking about how the women are drawn and stuff like that. It makes me want to open the book.
Yes.
That's what it is. It makes me want to open the book.
And that's exactly what happened, Leslie. We were at a convention a couple of years ago, and we were passing by BDI's booth. And, of course, Cadma saw the Wizard of Oz themed Western comic book, and she was like, "What's that?" And right away, it drew her to it. And then the art on it was just amazing, you know, and the concept that was great, you know, the Wizard of Oz in the West. I'm like, whoa, this is pretty interesting, you know, especially for us who like to read books.
Absolutely. I mean, that, you know, good eye as far as getting the right people to illustrate what is in the content. So it's really, really gorgeous. And that's the thing that I noticed. When I was buying comics at that time, when I was buying comics, I literally would not open it up if I didn't like the art. If I didn't like the art, I was like, I don't want to sit here and read this. I don't care how good it is, or what people tell me. Part of reading anything that you in this genre is the graphics and the writing, combined effort.
Yeah, comics are a visual medium. I mean, if the art doesn't attract somebody to pick up the book and actually open it, then your story doesn't matter. I mean, that's just the reality. Your story doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter who wrote it, because if no one's going to pick up the book, then they're not going to know how good the story is. So you have to be really aware of, and that's not to say that the art is, you know, quote unquote, more important than the story, but you have to be really aware of, hey, how do we, there's so much content, whether you're walking down a comic book store and looking at all the racks, whether you're at a Comic Con and you're just seeing all the booths, there's so much content.
Yeah.
That if whatever you have and that you're showing, or whether what's sitting on the comic book store rack isn't popping off the rack, then it doesn't mean you can't make a sale, but it means that you now have to make a little bit extra effort to get them to open the book and be like, hey, look at the inside, here's what the story's about, so on and so on, versus, oh, hey, what's that cover? That looks really cool. I'm going to pick it up by myself and open it up. And you kind of have to let the art do some of that job for you whenever possible. And that's kind of always been our sort of thought process is, look, everything that we do, we have to be able to set it up next to a DC comic, a Marvel comic, an Image comic, and it has to look like it belongs there. And that was always our sort of our artistic, you know, thought process of what we wanted to present, both on covers and on interiors as well, because interiors are equally as important as the covers.
Right. So if, you know, in a world where you have to make it look like that so that people will buy it, what is it about you all that makes you unique?
Well, from once you have the art, I mean, art is art. I mean, J. Scott Campbell's worked for everybody. So, you know, he's worked for Marvel, he's worked for DC, he's worked for Image. I mean, he's been across the board. So once you have the art layer that you want, the style or tone or whatever you want, then it comes down to concept and design. So you have to then have, okay, so here's, for example, that's Mike Chrome that you have right there. So Mike's an amazing artist that we've gotten to work with for many, many years. And so just having Mike, though, on the cover, that's one layer. The next layer is, what is he actually drawing? What's the character? What's the character design? And then, of course, what's the character doing on the cover? Particularly when you're talking about retail, like this was a retail cover, you got to have the character doing something versus the pinup covers that are generally, you know, variant covers, convention exclusives. That's really aimed for a different market versus we have to sell this book on a comic book shelf in a store where I'm not there to tell anybody about it. So now we have to create a story within that art as well.
And I have to admit, when we were there, when we interviewed you guys a couple of years ago, we saw Shahrazad, and you had a Shannon Meyer cover, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. Shannon's done a couple of covers for Shahrazad. Again, that's another one of those guys that we lucked into finding online, and I was like, dude, let's get you on covers. And he was ready to go, and he did his first ever cover with us for Legend of Oz. #7 was his first ever comic book cover.
Wow. This is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, that's more Mike Crome. Mike Crome is ridiculous. The guy's ridiculous what he does. And if you look at this book's about 8 years old ish. And you look at what he's doing here, and it's great. And then you look at what he's doing now, and you can he's leveling up even from what he did here to what he's doing now.
I also like the fact that it's sexy, but it's not overly sexy,
Sure. I mean, on our, like we just talked about, our covers move all over the place. When you have pinup covers, they need to do a certain thing. When you have a story cover, they need to do a certain thing. Variants, alternates, whatever, they all need to do certain things. But there is the difference between having the sexy girl on the cover who looks a certain way and the, oh my gosh, here's my boobs cover, there's a big difference in that. And there's a place in art for all of that. But, as a publisher, as a creator, whatever, you have to decide kind of where your lines are drawn for your different books. For me, I have 11 different titles in different genres, from superheroes to Westerns to horror to fantasy to everything. And each of the books kind of has a line in the sand where, okay, from an artistic standpoint, we can go here, but that's it. That's the line. We're not going past it. So, like, for example, for Critter, my superhero book, it's really meant to be for everybody. So there are no nude covers for Critter. There's no overly super sexual stuff for Critter. When we go into Penny for Your Soul, it's a book about angels and devils in Las Vegas. Las Vegas just opens the doors to everything because it's like, okay, it's Vegas, it's Sin City. Let's just run with this concept, and we open the doors for artists to basically do whatever they want. But even within that, we have characters like Joan of Arc as part of Penny for Your Soul, and we won't do nude covers for Joan of Arc. So even in that context, we're like, you know what? The line is right here. We're not going past that. And those are all just self-imposed rules that come from me, because that's how I want the character to be represented.
I like that. I think that's a really good thing. I feel like, we are using the word sexuality, but there has to be some type of provocativeness about anything that you put on the cover so that people will be compelled to open it up. So
Sure.
If provocativeness is someone who is a full-figured or well-figured woman, then that's provocative, and that appeals to everybody. It doesn't just appeal to men specifically.
Yep. Sure.
It's also
absolutely. We have we have a huge female fan base that loves the pinup art. But provocative isn't just sex and sexy.
Exactly.
Provocative can be violence. Provocative can be guns. Provocative can be anything, really.
Exactly.
In our situation, we've when we do our story covers, we try and create a story cover that again, is sort of jumping off the page. We want you to look at it and be like, oh, what's happening there? And then, of course, we do the variant covers, the pinups and stuff, where it's like, oh, she's hot. So you kind of want to go both ways as much as you can to kind of attract all of the different audience segments that you can possibly bring in. There isn't just one comic book buyer. There's readers, there's collectors, there's character collectors, there's people that buy art, there's people that only buy one guy's art, there's people who buy sexy covers, there's people who buy everything. So the more toes that you can dip into the art pool, the better off you'll be as far as expanding your artistic reach. And then hopefully they open the book and read it and they like it too.
Well, definitely you want to read it. I would literally take some of these covers and put them up in a frame. That's
sure.
How
Yeah. A lot of these end up.
That's how beautiful they are.
End up putting in prints. Yeah. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. So now,
and it's one of the
characters
reasons
that you.
Yeah.
I was
just going to say it's one of the reasons why you'll see after about year 2, especially when grading started to happen a lot, we actually, on our variant covers and our convention exclusives, we actually took all of the trade dress off of the covers and put it on the back, so that when people were grading their books, you're essentially framing them. So that would allow the people to grade them, put them up on their wall or whatever, however they're going to display them, and they get a clean front cover, and all the information of like the artist and the issue and everything's on the back. So we had that kind of thought process in our head too. It's like, how do we present the art in an even better capacity? Well, get those freaking logos off of it and let the art speak for itself.
I know what you're talking about, because the Shannon Mayara we bought was actually a nude cover, and it's amazing to see the cover without all the words on it. You know?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so gorgeous. I would like to talk about your characters that you've created.
Sure.
Let's talk particularly about Scheherazade. So I don't know if everybody knows the lore of Scheherazade. She's actually from Arabian Nights, am I correct? And
right.
So what made you decide to write a whole lore about her, as well as some of the other characters like Critter? We'll get into that afterwards. But what particularly was that appealed to you to write about her?
Well, Scheherazade was actually the afterthought for the entire concept for what we were trying to do. We had an idea of what we wanted. We had a story that we wanted to tell about this character who could kind of move in and out of really any situation, any sort of time or space, so that we could kind of tell any story we wanted, whenever we wanted to do it. We kind of compare it in a little bit to Doctor Who, where Doctor Who kind of is just wherever they want to write a story. But then at the end of the season, it all kind of ties together, and there's a reason for all those things to have happened. So that was sort of our loose sort of concept of what we wanted to do with it. And as we were developing it and developing the hows and the whys and the reasons for what we were happening, it started to develop itself as, okay, what if this is Scheherazade, or not Scheherazade at the time? What if this is this character telling her story to us? And because she has essentially lived for thousands upon thousands of years, spoiler alert, as she's telling us these stories now, they start to become jumbled. So if you look at Scheherazade book, the first volume, you'll see weird things like there's an aircraft carrier there with pirates on it. And as it gets attacked by this Kraken creature, they start to, fly the planes and stuff off the deck to escape the monster. But there's also like dudes on giant bats flying around, and it's just, you get this really weird, like hyper, sort of like Sucker Punch, right? You have all these weird images, like there's this schoolgirl fighting a giant samurai with a Gatling gun. Like, what is happening? But so that's what we kind of wanted to do. It's like we just wanted to fill this book with so much amazing visual, and then that was the whole thing. It's like, okay, she's telling this story. She's been around for thousands of years. There's all reasons for this. We're not telling you what they are. But as she's now telling the story back to us through these issues, she's taking a piece of this story from 1,000 years ago. She's taking a piece of this story from 500 years ago, a piece of this story from yesterday, and it's all starting to get jumbled up. And that's where we get these crazy fantasy sci-fi settings and sort of mashups. But then we had to figure out, okay, well, who is this actual character? I mean, who is she? Why is she experiencing what she's experiencing? On and on and on. And it was actually my ex-wife at the time. She came up with the idea of, hey, what if this character was Scheherazade, who's the character who told the story of 1,001 Arabian Nights? For those that don't know, basically the idea was she was in this harem, and the king was killing off wives on a pretty fast clip. And she figured out that if she were to come in and tell this guy a story but not finish it, he would let her live for the night, and he'd bring her back in, and she'd tell another story, and she wouldn't finish it. Tell another story, and she wouldn't finish it. So we started to try and figure out, okay, if that makes sense for what we already have built, because now she's telling stories not so much that aren't finished, but are just from all of these other stories rammed together. And so it's like, well, this makes sense to me. And she sort of became Scheherazade through the process of creating the entire thing.
That's different.
Oh, that is such an amazing concept. And I totally love that story, by the way. So She is like one of my favorite characters because she was smart enough to come up with an idea to save her life.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so she's very savvy. And I'm like so intrigued by this because I want to read about her. And the thing is, the concept of people riding around in bats and a Gatling gun, a girl fighting a samurai with a Gatling gun also has a lot to do with her storytelling technique, her storytelling ethic. Because you'd be so intrigued by something like that. Amazing. Oh my gosh, I totally love that. I totally love that.
And at the time I was writing like 5 other books, so it was like there's no way I can just write this other book. So I actually I helped plot the thing out. So I told what we wanted to have happen through this book, but my editor Carrie Castor, and again my ex-wife, now she was my wife at the time, they actually co-wrote the book. The actual scripting of the book is actually Carrie and Kim. So I was basically the producer on that book and sort of being like, okay, and they had never written comics before. So I was kind of like leading them through this, like, this is kind of how you want to do this, transition this, whatever. But the actual scripting of the book is Carrie and Kim.
Wouldn't that be harder though to write a comic? Because at least with a book or a novel or something like that, you can give more detail. But with a comic, you have to drive the story along with the dialogue, and all the art speaks for what's going on in the background.
Yeah, it was a learning curve for them, for sure. I mean, and because I had been doing it for, I don't know how many, 5 years at the time, I basically was helping them along. Like, you got to understand this kind of thing. Now, they were both comic fans already, so they understood how it worked, but to actually type it down and put it on, page 1, panel 1, this happens, panel 2, this happens, and then learning how to kind of move the story through all these panels. It's a bit of a learning curve. Yeah,
I completely agree with you, because when I started to try to write comics, it was a complete different thing than writing a story, because now you need to explain to the artist, well, this happens here and this happens here, or you tell the artist, okay, I'm going to let your imagination run wild. You can take care of this, but you're still leading the story. Yeah. And it's a script, but it's not a script at the same time. So you're like, it was more complicated than I thought it would be. Yeah,
absolutely. And you have to you have to understand that a comic, well, like we talked about, it's a visual medium with the art. Everything that you would describe in a book, hey, we walked through the valley and the green trees were hanging off the sides, whatever. None of that matters, because the reader doesn't see any of that. That is all for the artist to take and interpret into the art. So you've got to really be able to focus on your dialogue, and allow and make your dialogue, drag people through there, along with the art, hopefully doing its job at the same time.
So tell us a little bit about Critter.
Sure.
This thing has my attention.
Yeah, it does.
So Critter was the first book I ever tried to write. It made sense to do it that way, because I grew up reading comics. I grew up superheroes, Wonder Woman and Batman and all that kind of stuff. So if I was going to write a comic book, superheroes were the way to go for me, because that's what I was into. And so this was done before. This was done. This was way back. I had a regular job. I was, doing the 9-to-5 thing. This was going to be everything Big Dog Inc. that you see right now. Was intended to just be, hey, maybe I'll write a comic and go to a con on the weekend and just have fun with it. But it turned into the full-time job. But Critter was just an attempt to write a superhero story the way that I liked them back in like the 70s and 80s. When we got into the late 80s, early 90s, everything got all dark and dreary, and it's just like, this is not what I want in comics. And so I went back and was like, okay, how do we make comics fun again? And that was Critter. It's fantasy costumes. It's utility belts. We have special guest stars in this book that other guys have done their own superhero books that I know, and I was like, dude, let's put them in this book and just have fun with this. And they were like, yeah, dude, let's do this. So Critter actually celebrated her 10-year anniversary last year, along with Big Dog Inc. as a whole. We even did a nice hardcover reprinting of this trade paperback, which was really cool, because upon going back into these files and kind of remastering them to kind of update everything to modern, I was like, oh my God, I left pages out of this book when we did this thing. So it was kind of like a being able to do like a director's cut, you know, like, oh, here's the director's cut of this thing. Here's a couple of scenes that you missed. And that was
that
fun.
means that you did a whole thing where now you added things to the book, you know, to complete the story better.
Yeah.
And that means that anybody buying the new book gets extra stuff.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, we designed the new book to be complete. Obviously, we found all the pages, put all the pages in there. It has cover galleries. It has design pages. It also has never before seen art from Jose Luis, who was the first Critter artist on the Zero issue. He did 5 pages that we had used as when we were sort of pitching to publishers. We had 5 extra pages that were from like a later issue. And I stuck those in there too. I was just like, look, we're just going to cram this thing full. And it went from, the original book was like 140 pages. This one's now 180 pages for this 10-year anniversary book. So there's a ton of stuff in here that was not in the original edition. And basically Critter's just fun. Basically she, her origin story is, she finds out that her mom was a superhero, died in the course of battle. Her powers are basically super strength, speed, that kind of thing. The tail and the ears she wears belong to her mom, so she wears them kind of in homage to her mother.
I like that.
The tail attaches to that belt with the green, buckle in the front, which has a little bit of artificial intelligence in it. So if she's up here fighting and something's behind her she doesn't know about, the tail can actually activate on its own.
That's cool.
Kind of help her out.
Wow.
And then the ears are basically, communication and so on. And, and the name Critter just came from, I had to figure out a way to name this character. Like, what is she going to be called? And, I knew she was a cat girl. So I was like, okay, so what do we do with this cat theme thing? And she was from Michigan, from the Midwest, and I just started to think about terms that people used for animals, sort of slang terms, and Critter just kind of jumped right in, and it just stuck, and that was it. There was nothing else I came up with was even close, and so Critter was born.
I have to admit, it's a clever title. Especially you expect some kind of cat name, but it still fits. It's like, oh, she's a critter.
Yep, that's it.
I love that too. Being from Missouri, yes, we do use that word. So I just want you to know I love it even more because we always call that. We don't call our pets in the house pets. We call them critters.
Yeah, that's it. That was it. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So, oh my goodness, so I love this character. So tell us a little bit of, what's this one? This is also Critter, right? Let me just look at this one. Let me just see. Hold on one second. I'm over here in my own personal world looking at this stuff, right?
So this is still Critter, yeah. So part of the story is at the end of the first miniseries, Critter's in California. She's part of her mother's original superhero team. But at the end of the book, she gets kind of recruited / coerced into joining another team called Perfection, which is a group of Catgirl superheroes. Again, we won't give you all the spoilers. You can read the book and find out. So when she moves over, she gets this spotted costume they give her because they actually had a character or a member of the group that died, and so they're basically looking for somebody to fill the role. Versus Critter coming in and becoming Critter within the team, they're looking for somebody to actually fill the role of the deceased character. And so she gets this new costume, and we have this kind of weird dynamic of like, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. What's going on? And she finds out that these characters, while they are superheroes, they're more interested in sort of the social media, the paparazzi, like, hey, look at us, we're superheroes. And so that kind of has sent her on a course that she wasn't really meant to be on. And again, you have to even when you're the creator of these characters that you love, you have to put them in positions that are bad, because that's the only way that you move them through their story to get to the points where you want them to succeed. And so this was one of these points where it's like, well, everything was going right. Wait a minute, we just took a left turn, and now we're over here. So how do we get ourselves back to where she's supposed to be, and then continue the story? So this is one of those left turns where she becomes this character in a different team.
I totally love this picture, by the way, too, because I definitely could see it on Instagram. So
Right,
I'm just like,
exactly. Yeah,
love it,
yeah.
love it,
And it's
love
That
it.
such a
is
cat
that was
pose.
done by
You know,
Jen
Yeah,
it's
it's
such a
such
Kimball.
a
cat
cat
pose.
pose, and she's got the ball of yarn in her
Yep.
hand. Yes. So, I mean, just the whole, that's just an awesome picture. I love it. And I am a cat person, so I love this picture. And I love red hair.
Yeah,
That's just
we've done a lot of sort of, I don't know what you call them, themes where we're aware of what we're looking at as far as the cat themes or whatever character is on the cover. Be aware of what they are, what they represent, and then kind of design the cover to make sense for whatever that character is doing, if you can.
if you can.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes you just make a cool cover, like, oh, I'm posing, and that's fine. But other times like I said, other times you want to try and tell a story with what you're doing.
but there's a need for that for people just to do just a story to say, hey, here I am, kind of thing. People just love the art sometimes too,
100%. That's why we do a
so
lot of just kind of pin-up covers too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So tell us what, I know in the midst of COVID and everything, what are you going to be doing next? And what should we look out for, your fan base look out for as well?
Well, for the last few years, we've kind of reset everything that we do. In 2019, well before COVID even happened, I stopped doing shows, conventions. Not completely, but we went from doing like 20 a year down to like doing 5 a year.
That makes
and
sense.
part of that,
for a while there, we weren't seeing you anymore.
Yeah. I had actively made the decision to not do cons. Unless I was invited, or some of the key places we know we want to go to, Emerald City, C2E2, things like that. But in 2019, I started well before a lot of other people had been doing it, and once COVID happened in 2020, I had started doing live shows on Facebook, live sale shows with the Comic Book Shopping Network. Jesse James and Jen King invited me to be part of that. So that basically removed the need to be crossing the country and chasing whatever money I could chase at these cons. Now, the other side to the coin is that if you go to these cons, you have the opportunity to open up your brand to people that wouldn't necessarily know who you are. So it's not a situation where I'm sitting here, not doing cons anymore. That's crazy. But I became way more specific about where I wanted to be and what I needed to be there. And I started getting shows that would be like, hey, look, we'll comp you a table. There's no problem. Just come on down. I'm like, yes, we can do that. I'll drive myself there. Give me the table. I'll take care of the rest. On occasion, we brought artists with us. Sometimes we bring cosplayers with us. So anything that the show can do to help us, make a better appearance for them goes a long way. But if it's there were times where it was like, hey, we'd like to invite you to your show. Oh, awesome, cool. All I need is like really a corner spot, and that's fine. Yeah, corner spots are $1,000. I'm like, that's not an invitation, dude. That's you telling me that you want my money. So I was like, well, I'm not going to do that unless I'm really confident in whatever this show is, and that I can, make that back, because it's $1,000 for the booth. It's $1,000 for my travel. It's $1,000 for my food. And if I'm bringing people with me, all of a sudden I'm having to chase down $3,000 at this show. And it's like, holy cow, what's going on? Whereas on my Comic Book Shopping Network show, I do one show every week, and I turn on my phone and we do a direct sale to people who want my books. I mean, I can literally, I don't even have to wear pants. I can just sit here and just be like, hey, you want comics? We have comics. There you go, guys.
Listen. I have to tell you, that was so savvy of you, because right now, I think that COVID made people rethink everything. Everything. This right here, even being on Apple Bites and stuff like that, you're introducing people to your comics, people who don't get to see you. And this is one of the reasons why we decided to have this show, is because there are a lot of people that can't afford right now. Initially, there were a lot of people that could not afford to come to Comic Cons or anything like that. And this is what we decided to do, is to bring that experience to them through the Bitten Apple TV. But now with this extra component now going virtually, your stuff is out there in perpetuity now. You go live on YouTube, you go live on Facebook. Now everybody is like looking, and somebody's going to come across your video and say, "Oh my gosh, let me buy that." It's amazing what this COVID has done. And I don't think that a lot of people are going to go back to what we consider to be normal, because they found a more effective way to start introducing things. Something we never thought about before.
Yeah, what's funny is people how do I say this? All I hear is people want normal again. And it's frustrating me, because I see people that have learned how to do this even over the past year, and they're doing well at it, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to cons. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's never going to go back. It's never going to go back.
Even if cons happen and you're doing cons, why would you stop this? I mean, this is just another avenue for what you do anyway. I mean, even in 2019, when I was doing my shows, when I was at a con, I was live at the con too, because if I'm in Las Vegas and I've got fans in New York that can't get to Las Vegas, well, guess what? I turned my phone on and I just sold to the guys that are in New York. So please, creators, this isn't a situation where, oh my God, COVID's fine, we can go back to cons. You've been given an opportunity to open doors that maybe you'd never even thought of, and you need to make sure those doors stay open, even if you do go back and do whatever convention circuit you want to run. Do not discount the value of doing this stuff just because things are quote unquote normal again.
Exactly. The good thing is, I've been hearing from a lot of the conventions that they're going to keep their virtual components, and it makes a lot of sense, especially like for panels, because not everybody can get into a panel.
Sure.
So if you do your panel virtually, you have a much bigger audience for that panel.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And not only that, people feel. Oh, go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, that's basically what we do on these shows. It's basically live panels.
Exactly.
Whenever we're live, talking about whatever projects we're doing, whatever's coming up. In some cases we sell, in some cases we just chit chat and say, hey, we like comics, man. But yeah, when you're talking about like San Diego Comic-Con, for example, even before COVID, they would have their panels, right? But then like an hour later, all those panels are online. All of that is now going to shift to be now it's just live. Now the panel's happening. We're just going to show it to you. So everything's going to evolve and change.
It is, and people feel they have greater access to you in this format than if they were at sitting at a con trying to raise their hand to ask you a question. It is an amazing opportunity, and I always say this to anybody that is a creative like myself and like Ralph. These things that happened during COVID, you could have done one or two things with it. You could have, cried over the lemon and tasted the bitterness of the lemon, or you made yourself lemonade. Sure. And that's what you do. You continue to drink your lemonade. Right. Yes, that's exactly what you do. All right, so everybody, I just want to kind of just give you some information about Tom, where you can find him. He's at Facebook at Tom Hutchinson and at Big Dog Inc. He's also on Twitter at BDI Comics and Instagram BDI Comics. And once again, tell us a little bit about your show that you have. Is that live on your Facebook and at Big Dog Inc., or where is that?
Yeah, well, we do a weekly show on the Comic Book Shopping Network on Facebook. You guys can jump on there. Comic Book Shopping Network, CBSN. It's a group. Join the group. We're there every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. But literally, the whole group is set up like the Home Shopping Network, like you see on TV. Every day, almost 18 hours a day, there's somebody on the network selling comics. I just happen to do one show a week, but there's literally 25, I think, vendors now on the Comic Shopping Network, and they're all selling comics basically all day long. So you guys can go in and just have fun with it. Then we do my own stuff. Like I will occasionally jump on the Big Dog page, and like today I'm going to be doing what we call a sort and sell. I have boxes of stuff that's just kind of mishmash, jumbled. I got to get it in order. So we're going to pull it all out. We're going to get it in order. I'm going to be like, hey, here's a penny for your soul 5. We haven't seen this in a while. It's $10. Whoever wants it, call it. Otherwise It goes into the stash, and we get things organized for the warehouse. So we'll be doing a sort and sell on the Big Dog page today. I don't know, probably about 2 or 3 hours we'll be doing that. And then everything else we do really is Kickstarters. That was the thing with last year when COVID happened. We had a Kickstarter plan for a brand new book, and everybody was like, "Dude, you cannot launch a Kickstarter right now." And I was like, "Oh, you watch me." And it was Princesses versus Zombies, and we had the biggest Kickstarter we ever had in our history, right as COVID was happening. And you know, we've just been doing Kickstarters for like the last 5 years. Right now, we have The Legend of Oz: The Wicked West as a Kickstarter, which is running right now on Kickstarter. We're in our second week. We're already funded. We've got over 400 backers on there. So if you guys want to check it out, just go to Kickstarter, look up Legend of Oz. It's funded. It's ready to go. We're going to ship it to you in July. So there's absolutely no worries about it not funding or anything. We're cruising along. It is a second issue for this current arc, but if you haven't read Oz before, there's very, very easy catch-up tiers where you can just get like the last couple of issues if you want, or you can go all the way back and get like all the trade paperbacks and everything.
Nice.
However you need to collect, we can make that happen for you on Oz.
I have to admit, that's one of the things I've been liking about the Kickstarters is the fact that you can actually do a catch-up tier and catch up all the stuff that you don't have.
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome.
It's an important thing. Anybody who's doing Kickstarters, you got to really kind of think ahead. If you're doing issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you're doing Kickstarter number 2 and you don't have any number 1s left, how are people going to be getting into your book? So you got to kind of have that forward thinking in the Kickstarter game. If you're doing, you know, multiple issues, if it's just like one and it's a story, then you're fine. But if you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, think ahead.
All right. So what time is today your show today?
Today it'll be probably about 5 o'clock Eastern time on the Big Dog Inc. fan page. So you guys can jump on there anytime you like. I mean, all you have to do is click like. There's nothing else you need to do. And then we'll be there about 5 o'clock, and I'll just be sitting on the floor with boxes of comics and chit-chatting about what we're doing. And if it's something that you see that you like, just shout it out and we'll set it aside for you.
All right. So you heard that, everybody. 5 o'clock today on the BitDocking channel, Facebook. Go and check it out. And thank you so much, Tom. This was such a great interview. Really a nice introduction to you. Everybody, actually, yes, really. Everybody, please go like, subscribe, buy the content. I cannot tell you all. Buy the content. You know, this is people's livelihood. And it's really good content. I mean, we do not disappoint here. We are telling you the truth. This is good. So please, you all go out there. Tom, thank you so much. If you'd like to stay back on the wings, please do so. But we're going to bring in our next guest. And thank you so much. Take care.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. And good luck with everything today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So let's move on, you all, to our next guest. Honestly, I have to tell you that the only way that I could do is to introduce our next guest is by a video that he sent along. So let me see if I can pull our video up. 1 second. Oh, I hope this works. All right, let's see if I can find it. Is this it? I don't know. Oh, no. All right. How about this? We're going to go ahead and bring him in, and then we're going to bring in, I'm going to see if I can pull up for some reason, it's not allowing me to pull this up. So.
Well, maybe we need to get him in first and then see what's going on.
Yeah, let's see. No. It's not anything on his end. It's on my end. All right. So without further ado, you all, we cannot get through any con.
Exactly. Without some deadly ground coffee. Without some deadly ground coffee.
I am telling you, they have been lifesavers at every con that we go to.
Here's the amazing story, Leslie. Kadma had a hangover the first time we met them, and they actually cured Kadma's hangover.
Yes, because she needed some deadly ground coffee, you know? And I'm telling you all, deadly never tasted so good.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, it's just such good coffee. Without further ado, you all, please welcome our friend, Mr. Tom LIALIOS of Deadly Ground Coffee. Yay!
Hey.
Hi. Hi.
How are
I'm so
you?
happy to see you. Fine. We're so happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you both. Good to see you both. I know it's been a while.
It has been, and you know, and I had to show everybody my shirt that I purchased.
The coffee zombie. That's awesome.
I did the coffee zombie shirt. I get so many compliments on this. I mean, not now, but when I used to wear it to the office, everybody was like, "What is it?" Yeah. So I have I work at a tech company. Okay, I work at a tech company, and you pretty much it's all t-shirt and jeans. Okay, nobody wears a suit in the tech company. So look, Angel said also this coffee has always saved me. Yes, the coffee is so good. So I wore this, and let me tell you something that was really funny. I wore it around Halloween, and my boss, who never notices me, he's the kind of boss that's like, he's better now, but he used to be like, "Oh yeah, my assistant. Yeah, oh my assistant. Yeah, my assistant." So I wore this shirt. He's like, "What's that shirt you have on?" I said, "Oh, Deadly Grounds coffee." I said, "Oh my gosh, this is the best coffee in the world. You know, when I go to the cons," he goes, "You go to cons?" I was like, "Yeah." I had been working for this dude for like 2 years before he asked me what my lifestyle was like after that. This was an icebreaker. This t-shirt was an icebreaker.
He found out a lot more about you just from this shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Just from the shirt, he started talking to me about it. But everybody complimented me on this shirt. Everybody. We are. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I do remember the first time Kadma had our coffee, and she told me that it was actually the first time she had coffee. She never had coffee prior to that, from what I remember her saying.
She wasn't a coffee person,
at all. And then she had it, and it cleared up her hangover. I said, "That's our new ad. That's gonna come in really, really handy." Now we can make those medical claims, of course. But hey, if you can get a little deadly in the morning and it takes care of you.
Oh my goodness, it's such good coffee. I'm gonna see if I can find the video that you sent me, because
a couple of them. We had our zombie spokesperson, which is always cool. We've had that for a little while now, and actually we talked earlier, but Father Evil is in one of them as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to show is our Father Evil one, and I'm gonna see if I can bring it up so we can bring Lou in here. What is a day without Father Evil?
There's never a day without Father Evil. It's never a really good con without him.
Yeah, Father Evil makes
ain't that the truth. without the two of you all, it's just like a standard. You have to see both Deadly Grounds Coffee and Father Evil at a con.
Oh, I appreciate very much that he comes over to our booth. I'm happy to caffeinate everyone, but it's incredible to be able to caffeinate, the Father of Evil.
Yeah, Father Evil he's that's our guy. We totally love him, and we love you all too.
Thank you.
So Ralph, I'm looking for this video. Can Father Evil just go ahead and engage our guest?
Definitely. I have so much to talk about. So first of all, it is so great to see you again, because we got so used to catching you at all the conventions, and like Angel was saying, you're a lifesaver, because there's times where you're just walking around and you need that boost of coffee. And it actually tastes good, because we've all had that coffee that doesn't taste good, and you're like, "Oh, I need to drink this." Oh,
that was actually what started it from the very beginning. I couldn't stand what was out there, and everything was called gourmet coffee, and people would stand in line for it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And the whole push behind it was to kind of poke fun at the coffee industry, because everything was very serious back then.
Oh yeah,
with coffee, nothing like it is now. And so it was my way of kind of poking fun at the seriousness of it, while still providing an incredible, robust, deliciously smooth coffee, all delivered in a small little mini cadaver bag with its own little toe tag cadaver on it. I really didn't know what to expect. I just thought it was kind of cool, like, all right, let's make this. And at that time, I wasn't aware of horror conventions at all. I had no idea whatsoever about what they were really like. So the very first time I went to one, I was totally unprepared. I had no idea there was going to be 15,000 people there. So
horror is a bigger thing than people think it is.
Yes.
You could tell I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, you acclimated to it very well because you started bringing the coffee in. You started bringing. Oh, look at this! The coffee, I swear, is necromancy in coffee grounds.
I would actually bring whole bean coffee to and then grind it on the spot there, so it would go through the air system of the convention center.
Oh yeah,
it would come over. But I had no idea.
Yes, but you know what? That sells houses too. Coffee sells houses. Yeah. It does.
Yeah, you just gotta park the coffee hearse behind the house so they don't see it. Otherwise, that house won't sell very well.
Unless it's a haunted house.
It is useful now. It's been useful for us because usually your house doesn't get ripped off if there's a hearse in the driveway. It's that everybody just kind of leaves you alone. They figured, this guy is not too good, so we'll just leave him alone.
People don't want to deal with that. Listen, I found the video, you all, so let's watch Father Evil in this video.
Do Father Evil.
All right, here we go. One second. Here we go.
This is Father Evil at night.
Oh, at night? Okay, here we go.
It's all dark.
Where is this? Why isn't this playing? Oh! Okay, here we go. Here we go.
There's audio.
He always looks so great. Oh man, there's a full commercial. That coffee looks fantastic.
So is the father.
Yeah. That lighting does such good for him.
I didn't hear it on my side. I don't know if you could hear it there at all.
Did you hear it?
No.
You didn't hear it? Okay, hold on one second. Let me just. Let me tell you something. I'm so funny listening to this on my end. I can listen to it. I don't know why you are not hearing it on that end. Hold on one second. Let me just try something else.
Well, it's some Father Evil voodoo. He's doing his hoodoo. He does.
No, it's one of those other coffee companies doing the voodoo at us right now, but it's okay.
You're right. It's probably an enemy of Father Evil trying to stop him from selling your coffee.
We actually shot that at where the New Jersey HorrorCon is normally at that casino. They went to a room upstairs somewhere in this really, really weird looking lounge that used to be a lounge, and they gave us carte blanche to kind of shoot him.
That is so cool.
He's awesome. We did a couple things that we haven't really put out there yet with him that we're looking to, but you've known him for a long time, and he's a genuine character. He's a really good guy.
I love him.
But even after all these years, when I walk by him and I don't know he's there, he scares the hell out of me.
He does it to us too. So
because
that follow behind you thing. And he goes, I smell your evil.
Yes. I'll sit there. I'll be talking to somebody who's coming up to the booth or whatever. And next thing you know is he's right. You can hear, am I hearing breathing? And you can feel a little tingle on your neck. And he's hysterical. I love watching him at cons. And I remember early on, one of the earliest cons we did, he was there. And we were both very new at the whole thing. And like I was telling you earlier, on the first one, I had no idea what I was doing. I showed up with a regular coffee maker, thinking I was going to really be able to. I could only pour 8 cups at a time, and everybody was waiting. And the look that people give you when they're waiting for coffee is the same look they give you when you owe them money. That it's just that horrible thing. But it worked out, and luckily, and that was the beginning. We never did it like that again. Thankfully, because the cons were well, you've been to them all over the place, and they're very active, or at least they used to be. I'm interested to see what happens now as we start to kind of go back into it.
I agree.
It's going to be obviously it's going to be a different scene than it was last time we were all together. Mm-hmm. Everybody has to stay safe still, and I'm not really sure how it's going to work out, but we are, like your previous guest, Tom, your previous guest, you can do a lot online now, but it's kind of hard to do that with something with an aroma.
Yeah.
Unless you have smell-o-vision or something that we haven't invented yet. But you know what? That sounds like a really good idea. Maybe we should. Yeah. How we do that?
I don't. Yeah, exactly. Just to put your nose up to and smell the aroma of the coffee.
If I could figure that out, that would be awesome. But until then, we are starting. Actually, our first show is next weekend in Allentown, and it's an outdoor event. And I think a lot of them will be for quite some time, and we'll see how it all goes. But one of the things about this is that is hard to do online is the connection you get with people. Coffee is one of those things,
Yeah.
you know. It's not just the coffee; it's
Mm-hmm.
the kind of time you have with your friends around the table in the morning, or a friend where you go that it has a little bit of coffee talk, and that's incredible time well spent. And sometimes it's hard to do that without being in person. So once we figured out what we were doing at the shows, we tried to do as many as we could around Northeast and a few other places. Obviously, that once a year we drive out to one of the most incredible places in Michigan, which is a long drive in a hearse packed with coffee. It started years ago in a small little town called Hell, of all places.
Hell,
Early on,
Michigan?
I was trying to figure out how to kind of get the word out without having a gazillion-dollar budget, and I said we should go to places where like-minded people would be accepting of us. And we found out there was a hearse fest every year in Hell.
Ooh.
And so I flew out ahead of time. I flew out to Hell and met the guy who runs it. It's not who you think. It's a real person. And we became, we struck up a good friendship, and we talked about it, and we became the official coffee of Hell. And and since then, the Hearst Fest continued on, but we outgrew Hell, which is kind of fun to say that Hell's not big enough for us. So
We busted out of Hell.
Yeah, we busted out of Hell. And there's an actual Hearst group just hearsing around that we became members of. And this is like the most incredible bunch. It's like having Christmas at Halloween with them. They're an incredible bunch of people. Lots of fun. I think that's those are some of the images from our Canadian Deadly Grounders up there.
Wow.
That's right. You guys have got a store in Canada.
Yeah, well, we have a partner that has opened up a cafe in Canada, a horror cafe, and it's in Oshawa, I believe. And I still want to get up there, but I don't think they're letting Americans
So do we.
cross the border.
No, they're being very stringent. But you know what? Before we go any further, I wanted to read your bio real quick so that people kind of get an idea, because we know you. But I wanted people to hear about you. So Deadly Grounds Coffee was founded on Halloween 2010, partially out of frustration and with great coffee was considered, and with how great coffee was considered at the time. Being a lifelong horror fan, you wanted to poke fun at the seriousness of the coffee industry while at the same time providing rich, robust, and flavorful coffee. Delivered to your door in what looks like a mini cadaver bag, complete with toe tag cadaver artwork. Since then, you've made dark themed coffee a trend with lots of lookalikes cropping up every day and following your lead.
Yeah.
You're very happy that you maintain your place in the industry as the original aroma of horror. You can't fool true horror fans with cool packaging. You have to bring the quality you promise. You can't tell yourself coffee to die for without proving it with every roast. And 10 years and over 30 flavors and roast later, you've ready to head back out of the conventions and get started to a comeback. The conventions were not just the place to sell coffee. It was a chance to connect with folks that become good friends. And you don't have customers. You have buddies, coffee buddies.
Coffee buddies.
Right. So what comes first, the coffee or the horror? There's sometimes something here bigger than all of that. The time you spend with someone over a cup of joe is time well spent. And I can attest to that at every convention that we see you at. Yeah. We all have close friends, as you're saying, and we all talk to each other and confide in each other. And I'm telling you, we have told many secrets to one another at these conventions while we've been standing there having a sip of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And most of the time this happens over a cup of coffee.
Yep.
And more than ever being closed in during the pandemic, we all need to have some human interaction. Yes. We're looking forward to seeing our friends at conventions again. Let the fun begin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so true. And this is your spokesperson right here. You're Deadly Ground spokesperson. I mean, I have to tell you, the gimmick definitely worked, but the coffee sold itself.
Yes.
And I immediately do that. And I particularly bring money to conventions so that I can buy
Buy the
coffee.
coffee. We always do. We always get ourselves a bunch of bags, especially Cadma. Cadma always goes in there and buys like 4 or 5 bags.
You guys always out. Yeah, absolutely. That was a really fun shoot. It was a gentleman that I worked with. The zombie was a gentleman I worked with on another project years and years ago, and everyone back there wasn't. All the extras were customers.
Wow.
That showed up at 6 a.m. from all over the place, from Connecticut, Massachusetts, that showed up there because they wanted to be some of our zombies in the background. They're phenomenal. Great people.
Wow.
I really appreciate that kind of devotion. They were just amazing.
But not only that, I mean, the thing is that so many people love you all outside of just the coffee itself, outside of what you produce. People really love you all. They love you.
I don't know why that is. I really haven't.
Because you're not a nice guy.
No, I think it's right before the pandemic. I love that. Right before the pandemic, I got married. You all met Nancy.
Yeah.
Before.
Yes.
That's the reason there's any popularity whatsoever. They figured I'm probably okay if she's willing to marry me. So I'll go. That's fine.
Listen, Tom, I appreciate you for saying
engaging.
that, because behind every great man is a phenomenal woman. So I'm just saying.
Absolutely. She tells me that all the time. Yes.
Yeah. That you're a great man or she's a phenomenal woman.
I know. You know what? I know she's a phenomenal woman. Anyway, I'm actually surprised I found anybody who's willing to put up with all this stuff. The casket that we would have, it was a full-size real casket that we bought, that we would use in the hearse when we had enough. You can't really use it too often because we need the extra space. So I stuffed it in her garage. Before we got married, and as the service people would come to service the furnace or whatever, the garage door would go up, and there's a casket sitting there on a church cart, and they're like,
"Oh my God,
what?" Is there anybody in there? I said, "I hope not. They've been in there a while if they have been, So it's been a great run. We always had a great time with it together. At the shows, it becomes, there's a lot of traveling, and some of the drives are really far, but we've made such incredible friends. Again, all over coffee, these are people that we've known now for a long, long time, and one of the, we talked before about having coffee buddies. Everybody has a friend that they confide in, and we all do, right? And it's usually over a cup of coffee. I had one of the best friends you could ever imagine. This gentleman was so kind to me. We met when I was in high school, and he wasn't much older, but he was certainly older enough to be a father, because he was actually one of my friend's fathers, and he kind of took a liking to me. I have no idea why, but he kind of saw like a teenager that could have gone the wrong way, and he kind of guided me through. And it was always over. The conversations were always late night. David Nunn, late night at a diner over coffee, and that really helped me. He was somebody who was old enough to kind of know the tricks of teenagers, but young enough to understand. And everybody should have someone like that in their lives, whether it's coffee or not. He really made a lot of things happen for me that way, or at least guided me along the way. He, unfortunately, about 11 years ago, he died suddenly, and I was at a massive loss over all this. Deadly Grounds was just beginning to come on. He knew about what I wanted to do. He thought I was insane, but it was kind of cool at the same time. So he was very, very supportive. After he passed, I kind of went into a tailspin because I lost my coffee buddy. And as the show started to happen, I started meeting more people. It was almost as if he was sending more people my way so we can all have more, and now instead of just the one coffee buddy, which was invaluable to me in my life, now we have thousands of them that come up and say hi all the time. and I've met great friends. I've met you all as well.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's always like when we're out, it's always like visiting friends whenever we go out to these shows.
Yep.
And I hope that, you know, the situation exists where things start to calm down a little bit, everybody gets vaccinated, and we can move forward safely. And who knows what it's going to be like. We always had an online presence. That's how we started. And so during the pandemic, you know, we were getting nice orders and we were able to connect with people that way. But, you know, it's kind of nice when you can, you know, see everyone in person again. And we're hoping that works out. I know that doesn't sound really dark and scary. I'm kind of ruining the image here.
No.
It
But I have to say this too, though. You're absolutely right about it. And we often talk about it on this show about how that is a very vital component of the con circuit, is that everybody is like family. So we obviously do miss one another. You know, we do have this relationship. I don't think that there's ever anything that I've ever gone to in my life that I did not feel that camaraderie with like-minded people. It is, interestingly enough, people need to look at how the con circuit is, that nobody looks at color. Nobody looks at size, weight, appearance. You know, we do want you to shower, folks. That's as important, yes. But I'm just saying, and brush your teeth. Yes. But I'm just saying that nobody looks at, that's not a thing there. What it is that people all come together because they have a love and an appreciation specifically for a genre or specifically for a group or whatever. It is such a wonderful feeling. And I could have the worst week, but look forward to getting to a con because of that. So I totally know exactly what you're talking about here.
Same thing for all of us. When we first started, the imagery that you see was never out there in relation to a serious beverage, you know? And so we, at the very beginning, we felt like we were outcasts. And then we showed up at one of these, the first time we showed up at a con, and all of a sudden everyone like-minded, very much into all of it. We fit in. It was like home. And when you do find that level of comfort and you're trying to do something totally different, and you know, you have that acceptance from those folks, that does make a family.
Yeah.
And you're right, nothing else matters. We're all kind of into the same thing, and it has been the time of our lives. It really has been. The friendships, I know that the friendships we've made are long lasting, long beyond this. You know, we've just come through a very difficult time. We're still coming through a difficult time. And I noticed that throughout the last year plus, everyone's been checking in on one another to see how everyone's doing. And that tells you a lot about the kind of people that go to the events, the cons, and the kind of people that we all are. I'm very, very proud to call everyone my friend, everyone I've met at these shows. They'll email you or ping you on Facebook and remind you of who they were, and because it's kind of hard after a while you have to put a face to everyone, and it's become difficult, but it's been an incredible experience, and it's going to continue on, because at the very least we need to be caffeinated, so we'll just make a little bit more and make sure everyone else gets caffeinated as well.
So I will tell you this, not even if it's just us, the average Joes out there that love this coffee, you have a huge fan base. People that are celebs that love this coffee. And there's the hearse right there, everybody. I just wanted to show that. You're in Hell, Michigan right here.
That was from Hell, Michigan.
Yeah. I'm curious, before we get into the fans, the celebrity fans that love this coffee, what do people say when they see you all driving down the street in this hearse with Deadly Grounds?
One of the coolest things is when we are driving out to our hearse show with Just Hearsing Around. That's a long ride, and all the way there and all the way back, people are pulling up to us because they see a hearse with lettering in the back, Deadly Grounds, with coffee where that's printed on the back of a hearse. And they can't help themselves. They'll always follow you in your blind spot for a good 3 miles, taking pictures around the hearse, and then they post it, which is great for us.
Yeah.
Posting, And every once in a while, you want to try to follow them to freak them out a little bit, but then you have to turn.
That's great.
A couple times. One time I remember, not with this particular hearse. We've had 3 hearses so far. Yeah, the coffee industry is pretty hard on hearses. It's not that easy. But on the second one we actually accidentally cut into a hearse procession, like a funeral. And, I wasn't quite aware. And a few people followed me off. Yeah. I felt obligated to kind of reroute them into the funeral. I'm hoping I brought them back to the right one. I'm not sure, but
no, you should have used that as an opportunity to pull out the stand and give them coffee.
If I had in it at the time, I might have just done that.
Yeah.
They won't forget you if you have, the website is always on the hearse, and it's our ambassador as we go from city to city to city. And like I said, this one is our 3rd one, and I'm hoping to hold on to it for a while. They're all haunted. Every last one of them is haunted.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Yeah. Because you know what? The dead wake up and want a cup of coffee. That's what they want. They're they're thinking that they don't know that they're dead. They think that they worked like a double shift or something, but actually they're wanting that coffee.
And some of them can be kind of nasty if they don't get that coffie. The first hearse, a tree fell on with a nor'easter, and a tree nipped it right in the middle. And
wow!
I was like, now what do I do? This was my whole idea. What do I? No one's going to work on a hearse. No one's going to go, hey, can you take the tree out of it and just unbend it back again? Nobody's going to do that.
Oh my gosh!
The second one, the roof rotted and the roof flew off of it when we were on the way. All that vinyl stuff just caught like a big parachute. It was really hysterical. I have to imagine that it looks pretty cool from another car. It's not always so cool when you're the one driving it and trying to, you get pulled over all the time.
I have to say something to my friend Chris Roughton, who actually just came in and said, "Oh my God, I totally have to buy this coffee." Chris, when he and I were and him and his family, we were all living together. We love coffee. Chris's coffee is really good. It really is good. And my favorite is the maple coffee. There's a maple.
There's a maple. Yes. Yeah. There's a walnut, maple walnut.
Maple walnut is my favorite coffee. I mean, you all have some other ones, but the maple walnut is my favorite.
Do you remember which one is the one that got Cadma? Because I know it was something that she drank and she was like, "Oh my God."
I can't remember if it was a flavored one. I really wish I paid more attention. I didn't know she was going to come back the next day and say my hangover's gone. You got to be kidding me. I don't remember what it was she had, but I know it had a cadaver on it. That much I know.
Don't they all have a cadaver on it though? Don't they?
No, not all. Most of them do. I just can't bring myself to change the art design that much. There's a cadaver that has a toe tag that says, freshly roasted or whatever, and all the other ones there's one where a Grim Reaper and a few other ones, and we have one that's one for Day of the Dead that has a little bit of a sugar skull design on it, and a few other ones. And there's we go off a little bit and try to find different designs that kind of work with the theme. But as long as the coffee itself is done the way we like it, really we had no idea this was gonna 10 years later we'd be talking about this. I just really wanted to kind of thumb my nose at everyone, like all the seriousness of the coffee snobs and everything. And
sometimes great ideas start from little thoughts.
Yeah, they sure do. They sure do. Well, the coffee is delicious. This is like my favorite. But let's talk about the fan base that you all have that love this coffee. And really rely on this coffee when we go to these cons, the conventions and stuff like that. Well, first of all, just to say that
I know he's seen our lives a couple of times.
The packaging itself is awesome, and it makes you want to try the coffee. But let's talk about some of the celebrities. Now, I did show them before. Let me go back. So we had David Naughton. Who, if you all don't know who David Naughton is from American
Werewolf in London.
Werewolf in London, American Werewolf in London. He used to also be the Dr. Pepper guy. And a long time ago, he did have a song called "Making It." By the way,
my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yes. So, little story about David Naughton, and I can't wait to see him at the next con. David Naughton, when I was a little girl, when he was just a budding actor who was still the Dr. Pepper guy, going around, had his album, had his little record out for Making It and stuff like that. He was going around with Dr. Pepper, and whenever they would put up like a stand, he was like the Dr. Pepper guy with like the little, they had like cutout of him or whatever. My uncle Tony, my Uncle T, used to work for Dr. Pepper, and he knew that I wanted to be an actor. So he said, hey, there's this guy, that's the Dr. Pepper guy that's going to be there. Come with me on my route, and I'll introduce you to him. So I was really excited to meet another actor, because I was just a budding thespian at that time, somebody in high school, and I actually met David Naughton. He signed my record. He signed like a poster for me for Dr. Pepper and everything. And we sat and we talked about acting. And at that time, he told me, yeah, I just got cast in this movie, a horror movie. And I said, oh my God, I love horror. And he goes, yeah, it's about a werewolf. And he's telling me the story and everything like that. And now here you are. And I actually had that moment in my life. I'm so excited.
He's, I'm always amazed at the amount of time that they'll give fans, because we're all fans, no matter what we're doing at the cons, it's a treat when they come by. He's awesome. We met up with him several times. The last time I saw him, he was in Connecticut, and he's from Connecticut. His family's in Connecticut. And he had asked me, he goes, listen, next time we do a family reunion, can you come by just with the hearse, knock on the door, and just tell them that you're here for me? Like, oh, yeah, I would love that. You don't have to ask me twice. Just tell me when, And we had gone, after the last show, we had gone to dinner with him. And he started telling me about, we were all curious about that movie, the American Werewolf in London. And he was telling me all the things he had to go through to play that role with all the makeup and everything, which was not like it is today.
Right.
Where they rely on a lot more CG. I mean, it was a lot of acting and a lot of hard acting to do. It was awesome. He's wonderful. We keep in touch often online. And that to me, just by itself is I'm always amazed at that. The first time Doug Bradley came by, Pinhead from Hellraiser came by, and he would these are people I grew up watching on these iconic movies, and I'm having coffee with them.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's better than Jerry Seinfeld. I have to tell you, and honestly, that's something that's maybe a niche you ought to look at as far as doing something virtually as coffee, deadly grinds with friends, deadly grinds with friends, and actually doing this. Yeah. Have
like a little round table where we
got talking about. Okay, we'll talk after. Because that's my idea. But
I love it. I think you're in charge. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. That's my idea. Yes, let's get him in and let's talk about it. We'll talk about it. But I mean, it is, and there's a lot of things that gets exposed by just having just sitting down and having coffee. So this is George Hamilton, of course.
George. He's amazing.
He never ages.
No, he never ages. He's phenomenal. I don't think we were actually just we were just civilians at that one. We showed up because Pat Priest was going to be there from the Munsters, and we hadn't. I don't think she was going to be doing that many more shows, and we wanted to see her before she stopped doing them. So while we were there, George Hamilton was there. Another one of my favorites, Love at First Bite from way back.
Yes, absolutely.
He was a really good guy, and you run into all sorts, and it's like walking through your childhood in a sense, because you're seeing all these people that you grew up watching, and in the end, we're all there kind of. When we're doing the shows, we're all there for the same kind of thing, to meet more people and grow the circle. So I appreciate the time. One of my favorites is from Weekend at there's Butch, Eddie Munster.
Eddie Munster. Yeah, I brought that up because we were talking about Pat Priestley. Yes. So I mean, gosh, to meet these people, you know, over coffee.
Yeah. And we actually make Butch's coffee. We make the Dragula dark roast for Butch.
Yes. Oh, that's
actually,
right. Let me just pull that up because I
he
did
was with
see
us. He was with us at one of the Hearstfest shows. He was right next door. He was right there with us, and he's always a scream. He's a you know, again, a TV icon, but a really down to earth kind of guy.
Here he is, right here
There
with
he
his
is.
Dracula.
Oh yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
wearing our shirt. I dig that. That is so cool. You know, that's so good. I just want to go out there and just grab a cup of coffee right now.
Yeah.
Look at all
I
this.
tell you.
This is my scrapbook you're looking at. This is good.
Okay, let's look at a couple more. We
Sid
just
Haig.
saw it. Yeah, we just lost him.
Yeah.
So yeah. And if people don't know him, The Hills Have Eyes. I mean, he's just got an iconic face. This man, you know, wow.
I was trying to bring coffee to him. We brought some to his table.
Yeah.
It was towards the end. You know, he was slowing down a little.
Yeah.
But they're all. I mean, really, it's a treat for us because we were always horror fans. Actually, the horror and the coffee kind of happened at the same time. In our household, there was always always coffee brewing at all hours of the day and night, and we'd always be watching some type of horror movie that came across at night. So somehow the aroma and the horror kind of mixed
together
emotionally. And somehow I never unmixed them. They kind of just I didn't really think there was too much of a big deal to put them together. I thought it went hand in hand. So now every time you have that first morning waft of aroma coming through the house, I would think, oh, it's a perfect time to put your fear on. This is what we do now. We stream, especially during the pandemic. We stream all these horror series on whether it's Prime or Netflix or any other wonderful places that we can see all this stuff. We're trying to see that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can bring up one. These are so is this tea?
If it is, it's not mine.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute, y'all selling tea now? Hey.
I think our friends in Canada have tea on there.
Tea. Okay.
That's theirs too, I think.
All right, let's see whether we can find something like I want to find a celebrity picture.
That's Diner.
I think Terry, the Weekend at Bernie's. Terry from Weekend at Bernie's was another one to come by. Gene Simmons, we met once at a book.
You got a 1-Up. I saw a nice little Mario coffee back there. 1-Up.
1-Up. Okay, 1-Up. Let's look at this coffee.
Yes, from Canada.
There it goes.
This one?
I can't tell.
Oh yeah, this one, Mario.
I hate
the 1-Up coffee.
Yeah, 1-Up coffee.
I don't know what that one is.
Let's see if we can find something else.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, so many pictures. Oh, we got to stop for a moment. Tom Savini.
Yeah.
We got to stop for a moment.
Wait a second. So that's my, wait, I got to, oh yeah.
That's Tom Savini, right? That is
Tom Savini. Also, I think at that same place we met George Romero as well.
Ooh.
Wow.
Which was great because we just went up to him to talk for a little while. And this was in Toronto. And that's my bud from Deadly Grounds Coffee Canada, Brad.
Oh, wow.
And, everyone's, A-list is George Romero in horror. And we wanted to meet him. And I went up to him. I said, he says, oh, you're the guy from the horror coffee. I said, yeah. I said, well, can I get you a cup? He goes, no. But I can't drink coffee. It makes me shake. And I'm thinking that would be maybe that's not a good thing, but he goes, but you have those mugs. I would love to buy a mug from you. And so I went back and I told Brad, I said, hey, George Romero wants to buy a mug. He goes, what? I said, yeah, he just wants to buy a mug. We won't buy it. We'll have to give it to him. And I started to play around with him. I said, yeah, we'll give it to him. I don't know, charge them at least $5 or something, you know, because what? No, I'm kidding. We don't charge George Romero for anything. He's like the originator of all this stuff, all the
all
DNA
of
that we
this.
do. So
Right.
so we went over and gave him a mug, and he took a shot with us there, and you know, it was awesome. We have that somewhere in the grand list of the horror ride that we took so far. But it's that's Brad's car. It's not a hearse, but you know,
it's like a hearse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have a ball with it, and I'm glad I met him when I did. He was actually a friend that he was an attendee at one of the shows that we would do in at ScareCon at the time, upstate New York, and he came by, and we just struck up a good friendship, and it was something he really liked. And at some point, you know, the opportunity came around for him to kind of offer it in Canada, because it's hard to kind of get up there from here, or ship from here to there. And so he picked up the mantle and ran with it up there, and he's doing really well.
Wow.
So now
I know we keep trying to make it up there, you know, try to take a trip up there.
Yeah, we all are. I mean, but they're not letting anyone in for not us anyway for right now. I'm not sure. I think they recently just had another lockdown. I'm not sure what the numbers are doing, but they're being very careful. You know, but they're still. I think they're still operating. They're still doing pickups and stuff like that there. But for right now, and you know, things are fluid. Things are going to change, and they you know, as long as we can just you know, keep moving in the right direction here, and so we can all kind of get together. Because to me, that's the coolest part of all this, the social aspect of it.
Yes.
And to see people drinking coffee out of a cadaver bag, I just.
Absolutely.
There's a part of me that
like it. There's nothing like it. It's always a photo op. Trust me, it's always a photo op.
And that's why we try to take as many pics as we can with the celebs that come by. You know, most of the time we don't really get that much of an opportunity. Things are pretty. There are times when things get really crazy at the booth, and
we've been there.
We've seen it sometimes where you're just swamped, and you know, it takes it's convention time. It takes 6 hours to eat a sandwich for lunch when you're at a convention, because of how long it takes. You have to keep putting it down, and everybody's there, and no one wants to see that. So, so you know, we miss out on some some of those opportunities.
There's George. Is that George? Here he is. George,
there he is.
There's the picture
with the mug.
Yeah, with the mug.
Yeah, that's cool.
So awesome.
That was awesome. I think I drove the hearse to Toronto for that one.
Yes, it's fine.
So well worth it. So well worth it.
I stripped it down. I brought nothing in there with me except a suitcase, which also made me look quite suspicious. You know? You know, I the first time when we were in the Michigan show, I had to drive it back alone. The friend that I went out there with decided, you know what, I'm not chancing this. I'm flying home. I'll see you. You know,
wow.
So I didn't know. I dropped him off at the airport, and I didn't really know how to get back. So I just kept going east, not realizing east was going to shoot me into Canada and then into upstate New York. So I continued on, not realizing I'm in trouble here. I'm going to have to go through. So I did, and I try to be as, you know, I tried desperately to be as businesslike as possible, but I couldn't really keep a straight face when I pulled into the checkpoint. And why are you driving a hearse, sir? Why wouldn't I? After all, it's just a caddy. You know, and I try to smile through it, but it didn't work out. So they went to search it for like a good hour, and while they were doing it, the guys who were doing it were great. They were just awesome. They thought, do you have anything in here that's contraband? Is there anybody not alive inside? I said, no, it's coffee. It's a little bit of coffee, whatever was left after we left the show. And all of a sudden they go, you know what? I like coffee. Don't you like coffee? Yeah, we all like coffee. I'm like, oh, what are they trying to tell me here?
Oh, yeah, they just wanted to make sure that you opened up a bag so that they could see it wasn't any other type of contraband. That's exactly what they wanted to do.
They were like, my dad likes coffee. Do you mind if we grab one? I said, are you sure I could do that without it making it look like I'm just trying to kind of get through? You know, and they said, well, you can ask the guard inside if it's okay. And if they say it's okay, we'll take a couple bags with us. I'm like, all right. And then he told me no, and they go, don't listen to them. They're you know. I said, if this was like good cop, bad cop stuff, this is not funny. You know, like I don't want to go down the road and have to, you know, get pulled over. You know, but they were very, very nice to me. And it's Canada. Everybody's nice in Canada.
Yeah.
You know, so it worked out eventually. But I always had contingency factors whenever I would drive out there again. You know, I was like, I can't drive that long of a distance by myself, and especially now. I've aged a lot, you know, in 10 years of doing this. It's harder and harder, especially when you have a hearse that's packed with 1,200 pounds of coffee. It's not designed for that sort of thing.
And the gas on that particular that hearse, because I heard, you know, they kind of gas guzzlers too.
That one is not as bad as some of the other ones. Hey, there's John. That one is not nearly as bad as some of the earlier ones we had that were like tanks from the 70s.
Yeah.
That the moment you pulled away from the gas station, you saw the little line just go down. Like, that was bad. So we were kind of lucky that the roof flew off of that one. It was like, all right, time to get another one. That's the big guy upstairs telling us it's time to move on to something bigger. So it worked.
So let me ask you, because we are going to have to wrap up. How many flavors do you all have?
We keep moving in and out of flavor. Like we'll rotate some, because once we reached 30, it became huge to kind of manage. And so there's about that. There's about between 28 and 32 of them at any one time. So.
And what's your favorite?
Well, I usually go for the house blend, because the house blend is the light breakfast blend, which has the most caffeine in it. I don't drink it for the caffeine, but it just tastes good to me. But the flavored ones, the chocolate raspberry is like outstanding.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that one. That is so good.
The chocolate raspberry.
Yeah,
I remember.
chocolate raspberry is really good.
We're testing out a few of them right now, and some new ones we want to put out there, and we will be putting out a few more of them. And we'll just rotate through some of the ones we have, because it just becomes unruly to be able to have someone's looking for coffee. So we're probably going to stick to that many. There's too many voices in the background here. The house is haunted. We're going to probably keep it around 30 to 32 at the most, only because there's Gene Simmons.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was fun. It looks cool, but it was only a couple of, like 2 minutes talking to him, but it was still cool.
2 minutes. It's still cool. 2 minutes.
That's a lot of time for Gene Simmons.
2 minutes. He gave you 2 minutes.
Yeah.
He gave you 2 minutes.
Well, I gave him the Hell's Fury, the one with a demon on it. I said, look, it's not the demon, but it is a demon. And, you may want to give this a shot. And at the time, early on, there was a Twitter going back and forth with his wife, Shannon. Said, your husband's going to be here tonight. I'll make sure he comes home with us. But I have to figure that anybody who hands someone who's flying a package, somebody you don't know, is here, go home with this. It's probably not the smartest or safest thing to do.
He let me just say that I don't know what he would think was in there, because it's very fragrant and it smells like coffee. It doesn't smell like anything else but coffee.
It's our new perfume.
Yeah, it is. It smells like coffee. It's a great aroma. Now you are, we were talking about you going to cons and things are slowly opening up. Where are you all going to be next?
Next weekend, we're going to be in Allentown at the Horror Sideshow. The same folks that put on the New Jersey Horror Con have a smaller outdoor show that's happening in Pennsylvania.
We've actually tried to make it out there a couple of times, but it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, it's not, for us, it's not that bad of a run. It's only 2.5 hours or so, which maybe sounds like a lot, but not when you're comparing it to some of the other ones. We had some of them that just would take us forever. And, it's hard to take a nap in a hearse. We have, which is not good, because if you're trying to take a nap in a hearse in a parking lot, people think you're dead, and they're taking, you're just sitting there, and they'll start taking pictures of you. And then that'll show up, especially with face recognition now, that's bound to turn up somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
And who would have thought that all this time later?
Well, Tom, we so miss you all. We really do. So you're going to be at the next con, and that is going to be. Did you give me the dates? Did you give us
It's
the
next
dates?
week, I think 24th and 25th of April. Next month, we're doing the Monster Mania outdoor mall thing that they're doing, which is great. Over towards I think during the summer, there's a couple of other ones we're doing, and then in the spring, I'm sorry, in the fall, we'll be going back to New Jersey HorrorCon. I'm not sure how the rest of it's touch and go. To see where we're going to be exactly. We do have commitments for all of the ones we have on our website. But again, things can change. You know how this thing is. It's volatile. So if things change, I'm sure that the restrictions will change as well. And we'll do whatever is on the safe side. I mean, we're deadly, but we don't want to be deadly like that. So, we'll see how it ends up going. We're not going to have a full schedule like we did the previous years, only because I think everyone's trying to find their way through. So, but you know what? It's going to be easy if you go to any of these things. Just follow the aroma, and you'll find us. And we always enjoy. It's always a blast when you guys come over and say hi, and we're able to get together for a few. And I'm hoping that happens again soon.
I am too, most definitely. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Deadly Grounds Coffee, the best coffee you will ever come by.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I am a connoisseur of coffee. I am telling you, I am a connoisseur of coffee. I cannot. Neither of us or any of us at the Bitten Apple TV cannot make it without these guys when we're at a con. And the coffee is really delicious. And right now, you will see them out slowly like everybody else, but definitely go buy yourself some coffee. I guarantee it. But if you are not going to the cons, I'd say go directly to their website and purchase coffee from them. My favorite is the walnut maple. The chocolate raspberry we were talking about is really good too. But if you want to try something else, try it. You can find them at Deadly Grounds in Facebook, Deadly Grounds Coffee on Instagram, and Deadly Grounds on Twitter. And of course, their website, deadlygroundscoffee.com.
Or you can go to getdeadly.com, or there's a whole lot of other ones. We try to. This is one of the things where you're up late at night, you'll buy a whole bunch of domains that sound really cool, and you'll make them all point to the same one. They started.
Good idea.
I started having to go to decaf in the evenings. I know that's a dirty word, but
My house it is.
Well, you know what? It's Swiss water filtered decaf. It actually tastes like real coffee. There's no difference in it whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
So I started making a whole bunch of them in different flavors, just for myself. But everyone else is buying it now, so it's good.
And I highly recommend the merch, you all. Look at the merch.
Oh, they got great merch.
Definitely talking merch.
I love it.
Yeah, it is. I'm telling you, it'll be definitely a talking point, people. It's a great T-shirt, especially if you're a huge horror fan. So thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you.
We love
Good
you.
being here.
And Tom Hutchinson, we love you too. Back there, I'm going to put you in the green room. We're going to go ahead and end it. Anything you want to say before next week, Ruff?
Oh, Rob Longo is going to be on with me tonight at midnight. So come check us out and have some fun and check out some Vixens.
Cool.
I don't know. Vixens at midnight and Rob Longo.
Yes, isn't it fantastic? You know how Rob is, so you really have to be there tonight because you don't know what's going to happen.
You sure don't. Oh my goodness. Sure miss him. All right, everybody. Follow us next week. We'll be here. Same time, same creepy channel, creepy Bitten Apple channel, right? Like talking with the horror. And same time at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 12 o'clock Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock Pacific Time. With that, take care. Have a great Saturday and weekend, and stay safe out there. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.